Let's dive into why this might be happening and what you can do to change it. You might be wondering why your manifestation efforts aren't working. If you've been trying to attract what you want into your life but haven't seen the results you were hoping for, you're not alone. First, let's understand that your brain and body are deeply connected. Your brain is like a reflection of everything you've learned and experienced up until now. It's a mirror of your external environment. What you've gone through in your life, how you felt, and what you've learned all shape your brain's organization. This means that if your thoughts and emotions stay the same every day, it's because nothing new is happening. Your brain is stuck in the past, running old programs and patterns. Feelings and emotions are the end result of past experiences. When you feel the same way day after day, it indicates two things. One, you're not introducing new experiences into your life. Two, if your emotions are driving your thoughts and your thoughts are creating the same emotions, then you're basically thinking in the past. If you believe that your thoughts have the power to shape your future, then if you keep thinking the same thoughts tied to familiar emotions, you keep recreating the same past experiences. Our research shows that when people combine a clear intention with elevated emotions, they can transform their reality. Intention is a vision or a potential that exists in the quantum field. It's something you get to select. For example, you might ask yourself questions like, what would it be like to be healthy? What would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be free or in love? When you ask these questions, a part of your brain called the frontal lobe activates. This part of the brain is crucial because it helps you envision and create new possibilities. When the frontal lobe of your brain becomes active, it starts an important process. The frontal lobe is the part of your brain that helps with thinking, planning, and making decisions. When it turns on, it begins to look through your entire brain to see all the different things you've learned and experienced in the past. Imagine your brain is like a giant library filled with books. Each book represents a different experience or piece of knowledge you've gathered over the years. The frontal lobe acts like a librarian who goes through this library to find the information you need. As the frontal lobe surveys your brain, it finds different networks of neurons. Neurons are the cells in your brain that help you think and remember things. These networks are connected to your past experiences, like memories of a happy vacation or a challenging project at work. The frontal lobe picks out these networks and starts to piece them together. This process helps you form a new vision or idea. This new vision is like creating a blueprint for something you want in the future. For example, if you imagine yourself being more successful or living a happier life, the frontal lobe helps you put together the ideas and experiences that will help you build that vision. This new vision represents a potential experience that is waiting for you. It's like having a map that shows where you might go and what you might achieve. The vision helps you see what could be possible if you follow the right steps. To manifest a new reality, you need to combine a clear intention with elevated emotions. Elevated emotions could be feelings like joy, freedom, or gratitude. When you emotionally embrace this future reality before it materializes, your body starts to believe that it is already living in that future. Essentially, you're shifting into a new state of being and a new personality, which in turn creates a new personal reality. Our research has shown that when people learn to regulate their internal states, their brain and heart both become coherent. Coherence means that both the brain and heart are working harmoniously. When your brain is coherent, your heart follows suit, and vice versa. This coherence is crucial because it aligns your entire being with your intended outcome. So why don't we live in this state all the time? The answer lies in the fact that most of the time we live under the influence of stress hormones. Stress makes us focus on survival, and when we're in survival mode, we define our reality based on our senses. We focus on objects, people, and situations around us. This focus makes us believe that the outer world is more real than the inner world. When you're under stress, it's not a time for creativity, trust, or learning. It's a time to survive. You're not in a position to trust the unknown or to open your heart and feel love. Instead, you're focused on surviving the threat. This focus on survival keeps you from creating new possibilities and from experiencing the potential of a new reality. To manifest effectively, you need to shift from a state of survival to a state of creation. This means letting go of old patterns and beliefs that have kept you in a survival mindset. Changing your beliefs and perceptions about yourself and your life requires making a firm decision with a high level of energy. This decision must be so powerful that it overcomes the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body. When you make a decision that carries enough energy, your body responds to this new mindset. This shift is essential because it means the past no longer controls you biologically. Changing beliefs is not just about thinking differently, it's about feeling differently. Your feelings must match the new reality you want to create. Let's talk about the idea of being a victim. When you say that someone or something outside of you is making you feel a certain way, you're giving away your power. This means you're letting external factors control how you feel and what you think. This can lead to feeling like a victim. Think about what it means to be a victim. If you believe that other people, situations, or circumstances are responsible for your feelings, you're not in control of your own emotions. For example, imagine you had a tough day at work and you say, "I'm upset because my boss is being unfair." By blaming your boss for how you feel, you're giving away your power to your boss. You're letting their actions dictate your emotions. When you let external conditions control your feelings, you're putting yourself in a position where you feel helpless. If your happiness depends on other people's actions or situations, you're not in control of your own life. This is because you're allowing these outside factors to influence how you feel. When you do this, you're saying that you can't be happy or at peace unless things outside of you are just right. This way of thinking makes you a victim to those external conditions. If something happens that you don't like, you might feel angry, frustrated, or sad. For instance, if you have a disagreement with a friend and you say, "I'm upset because my friend hurt my feelings," you're giving power to your friend's actions. You're allowing their behavior to dictate your emotional state. But here's the thing, you don't have to be a victim. You can take back your power by changing how you react to these external conditions. It's important to remember that you have control over your own thoughts and feelings. Instead of letting outside factors control your emotions, you can choose how you respond. For example, if you're feeling upset because of something someone said, try to change your perspective. Instead of focusing on how the other person's words affected you, think about why you're letting their words have so much power over you. Ask yourself if there's a different way to look at the situation, or if you can choose to respond in a more positive way. If you base your happiness on external circumstances, you'll always be at the mercy of those circumstances. When things go well, you feel good. When things go poorly, you feel bad. This reliance on external conditions keeps you from taking control of your own life and creating the reality you desire. The goal is to take your power back by understanding that your thoughts and feelings influence your outer world. This isn't something you grasp in one moment. It's a process of learning, practice, and experience. As you begin to see changes in your outer world, you'll start paying attention to what's happening inside of you. When you see that your inner changes produce outer effects, you'll start to believe more in your ability to create your reality. You'll move from being a victim to being the creator of your life. If your thoughts and feelings shape your reality, then reacting to the same people and situations in the same way only reaffirms the same reality. To change your reality, you need to become greater than your environment. This means you have to start changing how you think and feel. Let's break this down into simpler steps. First, think about what it means to be greater than your environment. Your environment includes everything around you. The people you interact with, your job, your home, and your daily situations. Often, We let these external factors control our mood and decisions. For instance, if you have a stressful job or a difficult relationship, it's easy to let these things affect how you feel and how you react. But here's the key. If you want to change your reality, you need to take charge of your own mind and emotions. This means not letting outside circumstances dictate your feelings. Instead, you should focus on changing your internal state. Your internal state is how you think and feel inside, regardless of what's happening around you. Let's say you're having a rough day at work. Your boss might be demanding, or your colleagues might be challenging. It's easy to get frustrated or upset and let these situations control how you feel. But if you want to create a different reality for yourself, you have to learn how to manage your emotions and thoughts no matter what's going on around you. One way to practice this is by becoming more aware of your thoughts and feelings. Notice when you start to feel stressed or upset because of something outside of yourself. Instead of letting these feelings take over, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself if there's a way you can change your perspective or shift your emotional state. For example, if you're feeling stressed about a project, try to change how you think about it. Instead of focusing on the stress, remind yourself of why the project is important and how it aligns with your goals. Find a way to feel positive about the situation, even if it's challenging. This shift in thinking can help you stay calm and focused, rather than being overwhelmed by stress. Another important part of being greater than your environment is to stop giving your power away to people and situations. When you let others or external circumstances control how you feel, you're giving away your power. This means you're letting things outside of you determine your mood and your actions. To take back your power, start by setting boundaries and focusing on what you can control. For instance, if a colleague is being difficult, you can choose how to respond. You don't have to react with frustration or anger. Instead, you can choose to stay calm and approach the situation with a positive mindset. By doing this, you're not letting their behavior dictate how you feel. When you feel strong emotions from a problem or situation, you're giving away your energy to that problem. Instead, use that energy to heal and create a new future. Learning to self-regulate and manage your emotions is key to changing your reality. As you start to master yourself and lower the volume on those old emotions, you'll begin to take your power back. Now, let's talk about creating a new future. Your electromagnetic field doesn't just help with healing. It also plays a big role in shaping your future. When your field is strong, you have more energy to put towards your goals and dreams. It's like having a powerful engine that drives you towards what you want to achieve. If you're trying to make positive changes in your life, having a strong field means you'll have the energy and power to take action and make those changes happen. But how do you build a stronger electromagnetic field? It starts with practicing certain principles and making changes in your beliefs and emotional responses. Let's break these down. First, changing your beliefs means letting go of old, limiting beliefs that hold you back. For example, if you believe that you can't achieve something or that you're not good enough, you're creating a negative energy field. By changing these beliefs to more positive and empowering ones, you shift the energy you're radiating. This new positive energy helps to strengthen your electromagnetic field. Next, you need to work on your emotional responses. Your emotions are a key part of your energy field. If you're often stressed, angry, or upset, you're creating negative energy. On the other hand, if you practice feeling positive emotions like gratitude, joy, and love, you build a stronger and more vibrant field. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect, but rather focusing on managing your emotions in a healthier way. By combining these practices, changing your beliefs, and improving your emotional responses, you start to see real changes in your life. As you strengthen your electromagnetic field, you'll notice that you have more energy and power to create the life you want. This might mean achieving personal goals, improving your health, or finding new opportunities. So, if you're not manifesting the reality you desire, it's likely because you're still operating from past experiences and old emotions. To change this, you need to activate a new vision for yourself. Embrace elevated emotions and shift your state of being. To change in my life, or I have a specific outcome that I want to create, I love to get up early in the morning. That's my time. I'm a 4:30 in the morning guy because that's my time. The rest of the day, I'm serving. But I love getting up early and changing and working and having some time to myself. And I believe that when I invest in myself, I invest in my future. And that time in my morning, nobody bothers me because that's my time. And because of brain waves and brain chemistry, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is more open. And so if I get up early and I'm kind of between theta and alpha, I don't have to work as hard, I'm not thinking, I just kind of relax into the moment. In the evening, I always ask myself, how did I do? How was one lifetime in one day? Where did I fall from grace? What happened? And so then when I look at seeing how I reacted to someone or something, or I made the choice that I could have made a better choice, I naturally, we all do this, begin to think, well, if the same situation happened again, how would I do it differently? And that's the act of beginning to come up with a new plan. The act of rehearsing it in your mind begins to install the circuits in your brain, priming your brain so that when the next experience happens, you could modify your behaviors and do a better job in life. That's called plasticity. If you decide, okay, if I'm taking time out of my busy life to emulate the divine creator, then if I'm going to create something unlimited, I better feel unlimited. If I'm going to do something magnificent, I have to become magnificent. And if you keep doing that over and over again, it will begin to become more readily available to you. It'll get easier. And so when we're in that energy all the time, that's when the synchronicities and the serendipities and all those wonderful coincidences begin to happen. And it's those coincidences that are feedback in our environment where the field begins to open doors for us. That's what we want to occur. Now, I have worked on things in my life, and I'm a sincere person. I've worked on things in my life for years, and I always thought it was about the event or the experience I wanted to create, but all along I was changing. And when I finally reached a point where I could care less if I could have the experience is the moment it happened. But all along, the divine loving intelligence, this mother-father principle, of course, it's observing us into life. We are vitalistic, energetic beings that when we begin to unify all these principles that we're talking about, you can't get this in one sitting. You can't, you have to keep understanding it, keep reviewing it, keep redoing it, keep experiencing it. And new experience then causes you to dream in a way you would have never dreamt before unless you had that experience. And that's how God gets to know itself. So then I don't care what meditation you do, I just like the fact that you're connecting. And the more you connect, the more whole you feel, the more natural it becomes. Then, of course, the next experience then causes you to dream in another way. And what I know from my own experience and many students, it's not about material things. It's about those mystical moments, those transcendental moments, those moments where your jaw drops and you are in awe of life. Those moments that take our breath away, that cause us. And this has happened to me so many times. Every time I have one of those experiences, I think to myself, I got this all wrong. I got this all wrong. Some veil has been lifted. And now I'm seeing more clearly about the way things really are. Intention is, you may say, I want a healing. I want a new job. I want a new relationship. Now, the moment you ask the question, the what-if question, what would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to have a new job? What would it be like to be in a new relationship, to do whatever, to be healed? The moment you ask that question, the part of your brain called the frontal lobe, which is the crowning achievement of the human being, 40% of your brain is the frontal lobe. It's the workshop, it's the creative center. Frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of your brain. The moment you ask an open-ended question, you speculate a possibility. The creative center turns on and it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain, and it begins to call up different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain based on something you've learned intellectually, knowledge, or something you've experienced in your life. Like, well, I know what it is to be in love, or I know what it is to have a good job, or I read a book about it, and it begins to call up these different networks of neurons, and then it seamlessly pieces them together to create a new idea, a new vision. And when you put all those networks together and they fire in tandem, you'll get a clear picture in your mind. And that clear picture is called intention. Now, the more you have conditions or the more you have specifics about that job, like, for example, I want to make this amount of money more a year, I want to have health benefits, I want to have 3 weeks vacation, I want to travel, I want to work with great unlimited creative people. That all is the elements that help to add to that vision. Now, the picture you get in your mind could be the word job, or it could be just an image that's personal to you. But the image then represents all of those conditions. So you can have several conditions that make up your intention. But the intention typically is a symbol. Like, you may see a retreat center that you may want to start and you have a picture of it. But once you see that picture, the next thing that happens, you start to live that dream. The moment you start to take that dream and it turns into a living motion picture, now you're in that imaginary place. What happens is, the moment it starts taking on form and it starts taking on time, you start to experience it. And all the things you're going to do, you're actually living in that future. And your brain does not know the difference between the actual event that takes place in your life and what you're imagining in your mind. We call it mental rehearsal in my work. But you're literally rewiring yourself to the future. Now, your brain is no longer a record of the past. And when you stretch yourself past that point and you break free from the chains of those emotional addictions, the side effect of that is called joy. And the body is liberated from that level of mind. And when that happens, there's available energy to create with. And so when you break through that, you begin to love yourself. You begin to respect yourself, and you begin to love and respect others because you see yourself in them. And now that you're free from it, you can understand them with compassion without knee-jerking in the same way. So the difficulty here is really making the time to do it. And if you began to think about a new way of being and you moved into a state where you said, I'm not going to get up until I am this person. And not only did you memorize it neurologically in your brain, but you allowed the thoughts that you were thinking to become the experience, to the point that your body, as the unconscious mind, began to live in that future reality in the present moment. And when you got up, when mind and body were working together in that state of being, and you said, I'm going to maintain the state of being my entire day, and I don't care. Bring on the challenges because I want to test my greatness. And you did that the entire day. The end of your day, when you finished your day, more than likely you'd have more energy than when you started. The literal translation of the word meditation in Tibetan means to become familiar with. The symbol means to become familiar with. So if you're becoming conscious of or familiar with your unconscious self to the point you're so conscious of your unconscious thoughts, so familiar with your unconscious habits, and so aware of your emotions that you would never let them go by unnoticed by you. There's no chance for you to return back to the old self to know thyself. And then, if you became familiar with a new self because you neurologically fired and wired it in your brain, and you emotionally conditioned your body, and you were able to do it enough times, sooner or later it would get easier and it would become more familiar to you. And you would be able to move into that state of being. By the way, a new state of being is a new personality. And a new personality is a new personal reality. One of the things about substances is that it actually helps to change chemistry in the brain and body. So there becomes a chemical dependence on it at that point. But the person who wants to change has to want to change. That's the first element. In other words, no one can make you change. But you have to find it in you to really see if this is what you want to do. And I've studied people over the last 12 years. Why is it that one person, an old-timer, can look at his x-rays and see a spot on his lungs, and the doctor will say to him, "Hey, George, that's a spot on your lungs. It's nothing now, but if you keep smoking, it will be." And that guy just takes his cigarettes, throws them in the trash, and he's done the next day. How do you explain that? He made the decision, and the decision was an experience, and it began to rewrite his chemistry and his biology. Hey, how can a person who moves into a state of religious ecstasy, a state of absolute faith, drink strychnine and not get poisoned by it? It's a decision. Wow. It's an energetic decision. That's what the mind really is. People then who actually want to make the decision to change have to make the decision with firm intention. Once you understand the how-to, that you can't use your conscious mind to do this. You have to move beyond the analytical mind. And when you understand brainwave patterns and when you slip into a different state of mind, that it's easier to do it. Most people then, 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized habits and behaviors that become part of our identity or personality. So 5% of the conscious mind is trying to change 95% of what we've memorized, hardwired, become addicted to emotionally. So the person may want to think positively, but they've been feeling negatively and oiling those programs for the last 25 years. They may want a new life with new conditions. And as they use their mind, conscious mind, to focus on that, their subconscious mind, they've been programmed to feel guilty. That's mind and body in opposition. We have to begin to recondition the body to a new mind. So change isn't hard. It's just that you've got to get the manual to understand how to begin to unlearn and relearn, to break the habit of the old self and reinvent the new self. The latest research in neuroplasticity tells us we're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. The latest research in epigenetics says we're not doomed by our genes, that in fact we're marvels of adaptability and change. So as a person started to contemplate and think about who do I want to be when I open my eyes, what would it be like to be happy? What would it be like to live a new life? The frontal lobe is looking out into the landscape of the entire brain because it has connections to the entire neocortex, and it's got to resolve the problem. So it starts calling up different networks of neurons that are relevant to the question based on the knowledge the person learns or the experiences that they had. And it begins to seamlessly piece together this new understanding, and that's called intention. And so if you're reading a book about how to become more happy, or if you're reading a book on how to be a leader in your life, or you're studying the process, every time you learn something new, you add new connections to your brains and raw materials for you to imagine even more. The act of mentally rehearsing begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it's already happened. Now, the brain is typically a record of the past, but the moment we install the neurological hardware, it becomes a map to the future, and you keep doing that, the hardware becomes a software program, which means you start thinking like a genius, you start acting like a happy person, because there's no mystery there because you installed the circuits. And then these people didn't wait for their wealth or their health to feel gratitude and to feel empowered or to feel love, a love for life. They began to feel those emotions ahead of the experience, and their body is the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between the experience and their life that creates the emotion and their emotion that they're creating by thought alone. The body's believing it's living in the future, in the present moment. And the stronger the emotion that they felt, the more they're going to pay attention to the thoughts they're thinking. And now all of a sudden they're changing their biology from living in the past present reality to living in the future present reality. And I was so intrigued by this process that I went back to school to study neuroscience because it was the answer in the internal process of rehearsing and imagining. They had long moments where they lost track of time and space, where when they opened their eyes, they thought it was maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and it was an hour and 15 minutes later. When we get into the present moment, there's a moment where you lose track of yourself, you forget about yourself, and only in the present moment do you have access, according to the quantum model of reality, to other possibilities. And when you're truly in the present moment, the generous present moment. That's the moment then that you are no longer living in the familiar past or the predictable future. And in order for us to change, I realize that we have to get beyond our environment. And what's our environment made of? People, husbands, kids, bosses, objects, things, places. You got to get beyond your emotions, your body, your pain, your disease, and you got to get beyond this concept of linear time. So when we get beyond our body, our environment, and time, we become pure consciousness. And now that consciousness can begin to connect to the consciousness of the field.